continue. Yeah. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. So we're going to work on creating a Node.js app in Azure, and with me I have Felix, and I also have Alex who will be joining us later. So a brief about the ones who are doing this session. Felix is a gold student ambassador in Kenya, and Alex is also a beta student ambassador in Kenya. So they both have experience in JS. They both love JavaScript. Like they don't know any other programming language. That's what I thought. So before we kick off, two things I must remind you. Share this event on social media. You might walk away with lots of cool swags. So we have a lot of swags available. Let me read some of them. So like you can be able to get yourself laptop stickers. We have, if your post is the most liked on social media, you walk away with an Azure Fundamentals exam voucher and 1 year of learning voucher. What else? There's laptop, there's backpacks, there's lots of things to be won. And one last thing, for this session, we also have a prize for you guys. If you stay till the end, we have a feedback form. So in that feedback form, you can fill it in, and one of you will randomly be selected as a winner of a 1 year LinkedIn learning voucher. So ensure you stick in till the end, you learn lots, and yeah, you might be the winner of the LinkedIn learning voucher. Lots of things to learn. So let me invite Felix, and yeah, you can continue, Felix.
Okay, so thank you very much for joining us in this session. So my name is Felix Omuok. I'm a student ambassador and also a student at Kirinyaga University. So in this specific session, we'll be taking a look at how to deploy a Node.js application to Azure. So the first step is that the first step we are going to take is to build the actual application. Once we build the actual application, then I will deploy it to Microsoft Azure. So let me just set my slide into full screen and then come into presenter mode. Just a minute. Okay. Okay, so as I said, this workshop will be dealing with building a Node.js application and secondly deploying it to Microsoft Azure. So my name is Felix Omuok. I'm a student at Kirinyaga University, and with me is Alex Oheni, who will be joining us in a few minutes. Now, why Node.js? So that is the first question we need to ask ourselves. Why Node.js? So Node.js is a JavaScript runtime, and it's it's not an actual programming language, but it's a JavaScript runtime that helps us developers to write JavaScript in the server. So remember, initially JavaScript was a programming language that was usually meant for the web application, but after a few modifications, now we have Node.js, and we are able to run JavaScript not only in the browser but also in the server. Now, Node.js is very fast, and one advantage is that we are able to use one language and do the front-end capabilities and also do the back-end capabilities. And the best part about Node.js is that Node.js is asynchronous and event-driven. So this one means that we are going to take a look at the asynchronous nature of Node.js later, but this is one of the core functionalities of Node.js and what makes it stand out apart from other programming languages. So Node.js can also handle real-time applications and heavy data flow. Now, how does Node.js work? Now, Node.js uses an event-driven architecture where an event loop handles the orchestration. Just now, getting into this event loop, I want you to take a look at the phases that the event loop goes through. For example, if you send your application. So we mentioned before that Node.js is asynchronous. So what happens when you send a given request to the server, then this Node.js knows how to handle the heavy tasks asynchronously. So this one helps you to process very many applications at the same time. Now we have the timers, and these timers, if you take a look at the pieces, these timers process callbacks scheduled by the set timeout and set intervals. We also have the callbacks next in the diagram that runs pending callbacks, and also we have the polls that retrieve incoming input and output events, and also run the input-output related callbacks. Now, checks allows callbacks to be run immediately after the poll phase, and lastly, we have the close callbacks. So what happens here when close callbacks comes, it closes events, for example, the socket.destroy, and also the callbacks. Now, Node.js uses the worker pool to handle blocking tasks. So this includes blocking I/O, input-output device, input-output operations, and also the CPU-intensive tasks. So this is what makes Node.js so amazing and very cool to work with. And okay, so this slide is wrongly placed. I hope you don't mind. Then let's take a look at some of the applications you can build with Node.js. So lots of tools. Example is a command line interface tool such as Hexan. These are built with using Node.js. And we also have backend servers and APIs. Actually, in this specific workshop, we'll be building an API. And we also have Express.js. So Express.js is the specific library that we'll be using in our demo today. So it just makes it easier for us to build Node.js application. Then we have desktop applications such as Slack, built using Electron. So Electron just also another framework that makes it easy for us to build desktop applications. We also have IoT libraries, plugins such as SketchUp, and code editors such as Visual Studio Code and Atom. So all these are made possible using Node.js. Now, getting started with Node.js. So building Node.js applications, as we said, is quite simple. All you need to have is to install the Node.js. I'm going to show you this, and also NVM, that is Node. We need to install an NVM, and this one is going to help us install versions of Node that you want and manage. So that is that, and let's get to the demo. So I'm going to share my second screen. Just a minute. I'm going to share my second screen so that we just a minute. So we are going to build a Node.js API from scratch, and I'm going to take you through this. So here with me, I already have a folder. This folder is called SSA. So this one simply stands for Microsoft Student Summit Africa, and I'm going to create a new project. So my VS Code, Visual Studio Code is loading. Let me just drag it over here and zoom in. So I'm going to set up a project, and to doing that is quite simple. I'm going to open my command line, just steal from VS Code. Let me zoom in once more. Hope you can see it now clearly, and let me maximize my window. So there we go. Now to set up a Node.js and to set up a Node.js application, we are going to use npm. npm is Node Package Manager. It makes it easier for us now to set up our Node.js project. And as I said before you start using Node.js, we need to have Node.js installed. So you can just find this one from the Node.js website, and you make sure that you have the latest version of Node.js. I mean the one that has the long-term support. So this is the Node.js website, and if we take a look at the Node.js website, we are going to see the current versions of Node.js that are available. So we have version 14.5, but in my computer I'm going to use version 12. Version 12 also has the long-term support, so that's okay. And you can install it, be it on Mac, be it on Linux, whatever the type of operating system you're using. Now let's get back to our application. So setting up my Node.js project, I'm just going to write npm init. So I already have npm installed in my desktop. So in any case you don't have npm installed, you just need to type npm install. I mean, you just have to download and install npm. By default, when you download Node.js, it comes with npm already. So npm init is going to initialize the application. And let me expand my command line. So what I'm doing is initializing my project, and it should give me a couple of options. So by default, it's going to ask me the package name. Is the package name SSSA? Yes, that's okay. Then the version 1.00 is okay. Description 0. Entry point. By default, it tells us it's index.js, which is okay. I'm going to now, meaning that the first file I'm going to create is going to be called index.js. Test command, we don't have any test command specified. Git repository, that will come later. Keywords, author, license, that's that, and yes. Now, you will notice that immediately I finished the initialization process, a file called package.json is created. So the package.json file keeps track of all the dependencies and the dev dependencies that our application is using. So in the top of the dependencies are just the packages that we are going to use to run our application. Now, one of the packages I said we'll be using is Express. Now, Express is a Node.js framework that you're going to install. So I'm just going to write npm install Express. So once I install Express, you realize that Express is going to be one of the dependencies in our package.json file. So npm install Express. Let's give it some time. So you can see npm is installing Express, which is the package you're going to be using. Just going to take a short while. And as that is being installed, you can create our first file, and it's going to be called index.js. So this is going to be our entry file, meaning this is where we are going to write our code and where the running of application will start. Now, just before we start running our application, let me go back to the package.json file, and I want to take you through a few things. There's this specific part written scripts. Now, the scripts that are here, these ones are just this way we can specify the commands that you want our application to run. For example, if we, in any case, we had any tests that you wanted to run to make sure that our application is working perfectly, then we could specify a test command. But in case, because we don't have that one for now, we're just going to ignore it. And I'm going to write a script. It's called start. So what start means is when we run our application, we are telling npm where to start running our application. So the command that you're going to use is node index.js. So we are telling Node to run the index.js file. Now, let me now get back to our application. Now it's time now to write our actual application. So the first thing when you want to set up a Node.js application is that because we will be using Express, and if you take a look at our package.json file, you will see that one of the dependencies installed is Express, which is the framework we are using. And I'm going to import Express. I've just said const Express to require. So we are going to require Express. Once we require Express, then we are going now to initialize our application. So you can say const app. So you can give it whatever the name you want. And we are going to call Express. So we are initializing our application. So once that is that, then now we need to tell our application now to listen for requests coming to our server. So doing this is quite simple. So I'm just going to say app.listen. I'm going to specify the port that you want your application to use. So I'm going to say port 3000. So when I specify port 3000 and I open my localhost on port 3000, then we expect to start receiving requests. So there's a couple of ways to start our application. Let me get back to the terminal. So the first way, you can just write node index.js. And if you write node index.js, by default, our applications will start running. And because there's nothing happening seriously in our application, you can see our console is clean. So let us just try and log something. and say log, we are at Microsoft Student Summit Africa. And because I'm running my server manually, then I have to terminate this application by pressing Ctrl+C and restart it once more by running node index.js. And you can see from the console we have index, we have logged, we are at MSA. So that is one of the simple ways of running your Node.js application from your local machine. And another way, we can use npm to start our application automatically. And to do that, we can just write npm start, because we have specified this specific script. And when you write npm start, npm will come and check our scripts and check if you have any command specified for the start. So I'm going to terminate this one and write npm start. So if I write npm start, then you can see our application is now running. And what happens is that it's running, yes, but in any case you make any changes, then you'll have to still terminate the whole process and start it once more so that the changes can reflect. So to make this simple, we have a package called Nodemon. So Nodemon, the work of Nodemon is just to listen for changes in our files. And in case there's any change, Nodemon will take care of restarting our application to make sure that all the changes are up to date. So let me just click on npm start. So npm start is going to initiate Nodemon, and Nodemon is going to run index.js. And now if I just write log, we are at MSA, Microsoft Student Ambassador Africa, Microsoft Student Summit Africa, we expect that one to be logged in the console. So with this, we are set, and now we can get now to the details of how Node.js application works. Perfect. Now, at this point, our server is running, and we need to listen for requests coming in from the external sources, maybe from the browser or people using Postman, whatever the source. And doing this is very simple. We just need to tell our application to listen at a given to listen and specify the endpoint. As of now, application is running on port 3000, and what you need to do is just to specify the specific endpoints that our application is going to use. So I'm going to write npm app get. So at this point, we are listening for get requests, and we can specify the specific route, the specific endpoint. So by default, we are going to use the home directory, and this specific function, it accepts another function, and this function has got it accepts two parameters. That is the request. So request is the contains the information coming into application, and then the response. So that is what we'll use to send information back to our user. And I'm going to open that curly braces. Now inside here you can do whatever you want. Now let me just try and open this specific endpoint in our browser, and I'm going to open my browser. So to make it much simple, I'm going to divide my screen into two so that we can see everything happening at the same time. Okay. Just a minute. So by default, Node.js application, or any application running in our browser is going to run on the local host, and the local host is port 127.00.1-3000. So opening that, we should see our application running, because our application is running. So from the console, hope you can see it clearly. Our application is running on that given port. So let's give it some time. Try and log something. Okay, actually there was a problem. There's something that has been, I think there's an application that was cached on the local server. So let's just do it once more. So our application is listening and we expect some input to come. We expect that window to open. So as that window is opening, we can try and play with the Node.js. So what happens is that in any case you want to get the request from the user, we are going to use these request variables. As we say, that is what has the information from the user. And that is quite simple. So we can say that we want to log maybe, okay, let's say you want to send something to the user, you can say a response. So we are going to use the response to send whatever the feedback we want to the user, and res.send. So we use the send function, and inside here we can say anything. We can say that we are coding live. So when somebody opens our application on the root folder, that is on the local host, then we expect this specific person to see this information. Oh my God, something is misbehaving. Okay, there we go. So the reason why that something else was being shown is that there was something cached on the browser. But you can see, let me zoom in to my browser. You can see we are coding live, and we can as well update that. We are coding live at MSSA, and if I refresh my browser, I expect to see all these changes. Now we are coding live at MSSA, and that's that. Our application is now running, and let's try and send some information to the server and get it back. Yeah, so I'm just going to tweak this one a little bit. If I refresh that, so I want to something like Felix is coding live at MSSA. Now I'm going to send a sample query, and from my browser I'm just going to specify the name, and I'm saying the name is Felix. But now nothing happens, so we need to get this information, retrieve this information in our server. So to do that, we are going to make use of something. We are going to make use of the request variable, and request. We are going to say request dot query dot name, because it is the name that is specified over there. And we can try and log this one so that you can see all this information coming live. I'm going to cut that, paste it over there, and if I refresh my browser, you can see Felix in the console. And now I want to tweak this one a little bit and send this specific name back to the user. So I'm going to comment that console out, that logging out, and I'm going to specify that name. So to send this information back, I have to change something here and specify that name. So we are going to have request.query.name is coding live. So at MSSA, so this is the information we expect to get back in our browser. So if I refresh this, I'm going to get Felix is coding live at MSSA. So this is how simple it is to use Node.js. And definitely before we take our application to the server, there are some security changes that you can make, like taking care of the cross-site scripting attacks and any kind of attack that you can think of. But because this is just a demo and this application will be deleting it up immediately after this demo, we won't take care of that because of time. Now let's get to the next step. Now the next step is deploy our application onto Microsoft Azure. So I'm going to log into portal.azure. So if you're a student and you want to use maybe do some testing on you using Microsoft Azure, then it's quite simple. You can make use of the student benefits. I think it's called Azure for Students. You can just Google that, Azure for Student, and I think you can activate your free version and get a free account to do any kind of tests that you want. So this is what you can use to activate your free trial. And let's get back now. This is the Azure portal, and at this point, you are going to create a sample application. We are going to create an application. We are going to create a resource. Once we create this resource, it is going to be a web app. Then we are going now to deploy application live into Microsoft Azure. Now, first of all, let's create this specific resource. So creating a resource is quite simple. I just click on create a new resource. And because we are making use of Node, we are making a Node application, we are going to deploy it on Azure Web App. Now, Azure Web App makes it quite simple to deploy your application without having to take care of the underlying infrastructure, like the virtual machines and everything. Azure takes care of that for you. So your work as a developer is just to make sure that you spend most of the time making sure that your application is working perfectly. Now, at this point, we can specify the subscription that you're using. So by default, if you are using this build Azure for Students, you will use it's called Azure for Students. So for me, I'm going to use Visual Studio Enterprise, and how to create a resource group. Now, what's a resource group? A resource group is just like a container that holds all your similar resources. So I have to create one, and I'm going to name this resource group Microsoft Student Summit Africa RC. RC, just to remind me that it's a resource group. And the web app name, we are going to call it MSSA. That is going to be Microsoft Student Summit Africa.azurewebsite.net. So by default, we are given a URL, and it's automatically SSL protected. And at this point, you can select a runtime. So our runtime is going to be Node.js version 12 because this is what you're using. You can see version 14 is still in preview. We want to use the stable version, and our application is going to be running on Linux, and the region Central USA. You can specify whichever the region you have. For example, South Africa, East. I think that's the closest to us. In this case, we just stick to Central USA, and the Linux plan. You make sure that you're using the free version. So I'm going to click on this and change to the free tier. So if I go to the dev and test, I can select the 1 GB memory 60 minutes and apply. Then I'm going to review and create. So while our application is being created, there are two main methods of deploying an application to Microsoft Azure. One, we can deploy application directly from our Visual Studio Code. We can also make use of GitHub Actions. So GitHub Actions enables you to perform the continuous integration and continuous deployment and create releases at whatever time you need. So let me just create this. So the first one we are going to test is doing it direct from VS Code. So doing it direct from Visual Studio Code is the simplest method you can ever think of. And so let's just give it some time. Do I really click on create here? Okay, our application is being deployed. So once the deployment is done, everything is okay. In the meantime, let's get to GitHub. We are going to get to GitHub, and we are going to use we are going to the store application of the Microsoft Student Ambassador Kenya, and I'm going to create a new repository. So I'm going to name this repo Node.JS on Azure. Let me copy that name, and I'm going to make it a public repository in the meantime, and I'm going to create this repo. Okay, so while our application is being created, while our repository is being, actually it has been initialized, and I'm just going to copy these commands and push our application to GitHub. So to do that, I'll get back to VS Code, open a new terminal, and paste this specific command. And once I've pasted them, you can see that GitHub handles everything, and already GitHub has pushed everything to GitHub. I mean, our repository has been initialized, and now it's just a matter of pushing it. Now, just before you push your application to GitHub, there are some few things you have to take care of. One, you have to specify .git. So what this does is that we have the node modules folder, and the node modules folder we can't push it live, so we're going to ignore it. So that is going to be node_modules. So these are just basics of Git. You can take a look at them at your own time. So we're just telling Git to ignore this folder. So the reason why we're ignoring this one, actually it has lots of, as application grows, this specific folder becomes very, very huge. and you can't keep track of all this information. So what happens once you push our application onto GitHub, and when we'll be deploying into Azure will automatically take a look at our package.json file, and it will install all the required dependencies and dev dependencies instead of pushing this specific folder to GitHub. So everything is okay. So you can see from this GitHub, we only have, I think there are 5 files to track, and I'm going to push them. To push them, you just click on this button, submit all of them. Actually, these are some of the benefits of using Visual Studio Code. You don't have to master all the Git commands. So I'm just going to say fast commit, and there we go. Once that is done, I'm going to push them. So once everything is done, if I refresh on this page, you expect to see our code over here. Now, let's get back to Azure portal. You can see our deployment is complete, and we can go to the resource. Yes, let's give it some time. So our application was called NSSA. Okay. Perfect. Let's give it some time. Everything is loading. Okay. Now, once that is done, now we need to deploy this specific application to the cloud. But before we do that, we need to take a look at something. So I want to take a look at this specific code, our index.js. So you can see at this point you're telling this specific application to listen onto port 3000. But when application is deployed into Azure, Azure automatically assigns a given port to application. So we also have to take care of that. So we're just going to write process.env.port. So what this one means, we are telling Azure that once our application is deployed, then use the port number that is specified on the process environment. So in the process environment, the port number will always be stored. Yeah, so I'm just going to use that. So when our application is running in the local environment, it's going to check, okay, do we have a port number specified in the environment? No, then use our own default port 3000. But the cloud, by default, this won't be missing. So by default, Azure is going to use the port number specified in the process.environment. And that is that. Now, to deploy our application, we have to use an extension called Azure. You have to install the Azure Web App. And let me just click onto the extension tab, and you can just look for Azure. So once you have Azure installed, I have it installed already. We have the Azure App Service. I already have it installed, so I'm just going to click on mine. And at this point, we are going to create a free. I'm going to select on this button, deploy the web app. So once I deploy the web app, I want to deploy the current application. That is the current folder where we are in. And I'm going to choose the subscription I'm using. That is the Visual Studio Enterprise. And it should load our currently active web apps. So we are going to use MSSA. This is the web app we just created, and we are going to select that. And it's asking me, would you like to update your workspace configuration to run build commands on the target server? Yes. Additionally, I want to deploy. This will overwrite any previously deployed and cannot be undone. Deploy. And there we go. This tool is now doing its magic. You can take a look at the whole process, what's happening on the terminal. So let me just enlarge the screen and take a look at the output window. So you can see our application is being deployed. This is all the magic that is being done behind the scenes. And within a short time, our application will be up and running. So you can take a look at our application by using this specific URL. So from your Azure portal, and if you take a look at the specific resource that you created, you're going to find this one over here, the URL that you've been given, that is MSSA, and this URL, then let me click on it. So you can see you're getting a notification, deployment completed, and our application should be up and running. So I just opened that. So actually it did it very, very fast. Oh, there's an application error. So there is something wrong with the application. Let's try and restart it and see what's happening. So process.env.port. Okay. Okay. Let me just push these changes to GitHub. So I think the demagogues are failing us. Let's see what's wrong. And process.env, the first bash. Okay, let me go to the local browser and see if the application is still running on the specified port, 127,000. Undefined. And I'm just name. Felix is doing some coding. App.listing and post 3000. Everything seems to be okay. Let's take a look at it once more. Open it on a new window. Okay, so there seems to be something wrong. So we can take a look at the let me just take a look at if the port number is correct. And once more, let me just deploy it. Yes, deploy. So while application is being deployed, we can take a look at the we can take a look at the other deployment method that is using GitHub Actions. So to deploy application using GitHub Actions, we'll go to the Action Center. So at this point, if we scroll down, we are going to see deploy your code with these popular services, and we're going to set up this workflow. So deployment complete, browse site. Let's take a look at that, browse site. So there's something wrong. Something is seriously wrong. Okay. Okay, let's try another deployment method. That is using the GitHub Actions. So what happens when you use the GitHub Actions is that we are going to create a YAML file, and this YAML file, what it does, it tells GitHub on how to deploy our application in GitHub. And at this point, we only need to make a few changes, that is specifying our path name, and specifying the version we are using. Let me zoom in. So our application is called MSSA. And let me just get back. And we're going to use version 12. And I'm going to start this commit. And I'm going to create a Y and a red file and create a new commit. Now, the next thing we need to do, the final one, is just to download our publish profile. So get publish profile. So once we get our publish profile, I'm going to download it. So publish profile tells Git how to deploy application. And there are just some few changes we need to to make to our published profile once we download it. So I'm going to open. Now, before I download it, I just have to make some few changes. Let me take a look at my history. So deploying changes, the deploying application using GitHub Actions had some issues, and they were being addressed. I think let me just get back to take a look at that specific website. I'm looking created. Okay, I can't really seem to find. Okay, let us first of all do the deployment. Obviously, it's going to fail because of a given reason. Let me push these changes. I'm going to show you why. So our application is being pushed. Now let me get to GitHub. And once our published profile is ready, we are going to open our published profile. Okay, can't push because I have to pull. There are some changes on the cloud. So I'm just going to type git pull. So this is our published profile. I'll get to the settings. Once you get the setting, I'm going to go to the secrets. And in the secrets, we are going to create a new secret. Did I click on the secrets? Yeah, new repository secret. And we're going to paste this specific value. So the name of the secret is Azure Web App Published Profile, and we're going to add that secret. Now, once our secret is added, let me refresh my browser one more last time. Okay, our secret is being added. There we go. Now I'll get back to the specific application, and we're going to create a release. Now we're going to create a brand new release. So this is where you use GitHub Actions to enable you to perform continuous integration and deployment. We just name it first release. We're going to call it version 1. And once you call it version 1, we're going to have some comments, new here, and we are going to push. We're going to publish this release. So publishing this release, GitHub is going to start the deployment process. Now, I want to show you why this deployment is going to fail and the solution around it. So I'll get back to the actions. And I'm looking for a specific error. So this is the first release. Okay, let's give it some time. Okay, one job in process, build and deploy. So it's going to fail at build and deploy. Okay, that we saw that coming. So let me get back to the actions. First release. So initially, once you created your published profile, everything was going to work perfectly. But right now, there is this error: you get failed to push to get the published profile. So I'm just going to paste this one on Google right now. I just realized this error yesterday. I'm going to show you where to get the solution to some of these things. This is a developer problem. So you can see deployment failed with error git push profile. So it's an open issue. And down over here, they provided a solution. So this is what you need to configure. This is the configuration you need to take care of to make sure that everything is working well. So let me just divide my window into two. Let me divide. So you can see this is a temporary solution that they are using so that you don't have to go through this process. And I'm going to divide my screen. I'm going to bring this other screen over here, divide it into two. So this is just a temporary solution to this problem. And to do this, you'll have to go to our configuration settings. We're almost done. Once we specify this, everything is going to be okay. So, okay, it's loading, it's loading. There we go. Oh my god, I was to go to the total menu and okay, let me go to that resource. Once you get to the resource, I want to take a look at the configuration. Now, once you get up to the configuration, why is that window disappearing? Oh my god. Just a minute, go to resource. Then we have to create a new configuration. Create new application setting. So the new application setting is going to be what we have over here, and it's going to be website web deploy use CSS. So this is just a temporary solution. I'm going to say that one as true, and we are going to click on OK. And save. So once we save that, it's going to restart our application. So updating web app settings. So once this one is done, I'm going to get back to this specific application, download the publish profile once more, and everything is going to be okay. And I'm going to click on this, go to the publish profile. I'm going to download it. I'm going to open it. I'm going to paste it, Ctrl A, Ctrl C. Then when I get to GitHub, where is GitHub? When I get to GitHub, I'm going to modify our settings. Go to the secrets. Update. And paste in the new value. So there we go. And I'm going to update that secret. So once I update that secret key, then I expect this application deployment to take to be successful. So I'm going to get back to the actual application and create a new release. So I'm going to take a look at the releases and draft a new release. So this new release is going to be named, I'm going to give it version 1.1, and I'm going to say corrected deployment error. So once that is done, I'm going to publish this release. So this time around, we expect everything to go on smoothly, unless there's a spelling error. Okay, I just saw there was a spelling error, but let's hope everything is going to be good. Yes, now let's take a look at how GitHub does the magic. So GitHub is setting up our workflow, is setting up the job. It's deploying it to Azure. So remember last time our application failed somewhere here, but this time around we hope everything is going to be okay and the application is going to run successfully. So deploying to Azure. Yeah, job complete and perfect. The deployment is complete. Now let's get back to our application and take a look at our application. So I'm going to get to our resource group. What is the name of our resource group? So let me select the correct subscription. It's Azure Enterprise, Azure Student Enterprise. There we go. Application is MSSA-RC. And this is the overview of application. And I want to select on the actual web app, the actual app service. And let's wait for the Azure portal to load our URL. So there we go. Let's try and open this one on our URL. So let's expect that everything is going to be okay. I can see it's taking long, so it means there's something wrong. So, oh my God, let me just push this changes. Yeah?
We are running out of time. So there was a suggestion that should you install .environment.env, or it can detect the environment by itself. And like, should you use npm? Should you use npm install.environment.env? Check. Oh, you can check it right now. Okay. It's on the chat.
Let me take a look at the charts.
Just npm install.env.
Where are the charts? How can I see these charts? Okay, just a minute. I don't know why I'm not seeing the charts. Okay, I think published. So the question is, should we install the TNV? So by default, Azure assigns an application the environment variable, the port number. So by default, that is something that is, you don't have to install the .env when you are deploying it. So it runs by default. It's Azure assigns it by default. But if you want to specify the variables, the environment variables in the application, then you will have to install the npm package to do that. So that one will automatically assign the environment variable that is specified. Things like the password and even the try keys, you can specify them over there. So just a simple, just as we wind up, there's something wrong with the application. I just can't figure out why, but let me show you how, just as we finalize, how you can create releases. So I'm going to get back to my application and show you some repositories on how this one works. So if you take a look at this specific repository, you can see we have some releases that you can make. So the good thing about GitHub, the reason why we are talking about continuous integration and integration, for example, you see the application we just created, it has some defect. And if in any case we are not using CI, or we are not using GitHub Actions, then in any case you are not using GitHub Actions and you just push it, it's going to affect the whole application that you're having over there. But now because we're using CID/CD, when you're creating a new release, GitHub gives you an option to make it a pre-release. So when you make it a pre-release over here, so then it won't affect the live application that is currently running. So if in any case you had this, it won't have affected the current application, the live application. So this is something we need to take care of. And also if you get to Azure portal, we have something called deployment slots. So deployment slots enables you to deploy application in stages. So you can deploy it the first time, maybe for the testing stage, and once everything is working well, then now you can push it to the release. So the repository for this code, the repository for this code is on the Student Ambassador, Microsoft Kenya Student Ambassador, and unfortunately, the demo gods were not on our side today, and that's why we're having an error, but we'll take a look at it. So thank you very much for being part of this session today, and we hope that you're having a nice time. So thank you, and have a good time. So back to you, Bethany.
Thank you so much, Felix. We unfortunately do not have enough time to go to each and every one of your questions, but you can send in your feedback using the form that I've posted in the chat section. Alternatively, Felix will be replying to the messages even after the call ends, so be sure to just check them out. And thank you so much for attending. See you guys in the next session. And the link to the next session is 1 minute. It's building APIs with GraphQL. The link is posted. Thank you so much and have a good day.